So we still
sectors are able to fill vacancies.
budget speech. We're still in a budget speech with the Minister of Finance.
Paying salaries constitutes 76% of the provincial education department. This means that only 24 rand out of every 100 rand of their budget is left for funding school infrastructure, meals for learners from poor backgrounds, and stationery and textbook, among other things. Our learner-teacher ratios remain higher than we would like, meaning that we still need more teachers in classroom. To prevent compensation of employees from crowding out other equally important areas of spending, 19.1 billion is added over the medium term to keep approximately 11,000 teachers in the classroom. The foundation to building in the next generation of citizens who contribute economically and socially to this great nation is early childhood development. Despite this, the subsidy for early childhood development has not increased from 2019 level of 17 rand per day per child. To remedy this, an amount of 10 billion over the medium term is allocated to increase subsidy to 24 rand per day per child. The extra funding will also support increased access to ECD for approximately 700,000 more children up to the age of 4 years old. Health spending will grow from 277 billion in 24-25 to 329 billion in 27-28 to support equitable provision of public health services, including free primary health care services. Like in provincial education, a significant portion of provincial health budget is spent on salaries and wages. 28.9 billion is added to the health budget, mainly to keep about 9,300 healthcare workers in our hospitals and clinics. It's also be used to employ the 800 post-community service doctors and to ensure that our pharmacists do not run out of medicine. Honorable members, social grants are allocated 284.7 billion rand in 25-26. This allows us to increase the old age grant, disability grant by 130 rand. Now let me tell you a story. I was working here in Waterfront. An old man comes to me and he says, "Thanks for the 150, but the 150 now is gone." He said, "But I don't need VAT." Now, because of the reduction in the VAT, I had to reduce the 150 to 130. The child support grant by 30 rand, the foster care grant by 70 rand. The COVID-19 social relief in its current form will be extended by a year to March 2026. 35.52 billion rand is allocated for this purpose. Let me correct a myth here. A myth that suggests that I'm trying to pose as two alternatives is either VAT or SRD. Didn't say that. What I did say is that the SRD has been a temporary grant. We have been debating to find a funding source for it so that it should not continue to crowd other spending. What we are attempting to do is to stabilize exactly that, to make sure that this grant is not only sustained, but it also does not crowd out other spending. We go on in this speech and in the previous one that leaked. Same sentence. As announced by the President in the State of the National Address, the SRD will be used as a basis for the introduction of sustainable form of income support for unemployed people. The future form and nature of the SRD will be informed by the outcome of the review of the active labor market policy program. This is expected to be completed by September 2025. Madam Speaker, nearly 28 million beneficiaries will access social grants. The truth is that it is one of the most comprehensive social safety nets among emerging economies. This reflects our commitment to addressing poverty and inequality while keeping our spending sustainable. In this budget, we have also made a provision to replenish the funding for our security functions and peacekeeping commitments. 9.4 billion is allocated to fund the Defence Force and correctional services. Over the medium term, 5 billion has been allocated to the Department of Defense to support South Africa's participation in the SADC mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo and to supplement existing peacekeeping activities. We will continue working with the Department of Defense on ways to change the composition of expenditure to modernize the defense force moving forward. Madam Speaker, combating financial crimes and corruption is essential to protecting the integrity of our economy and the institutions that foster stability and social well-being. Funds are allocated for enhancing the financial forensic and accounting capabilities in our law enforcement institutions, further strengthening our ability to detect and prosecute complex economic crimes. These efforts address recommendations from the Financial Action Task Force and the State Capture Commission, ensuring that we continue to fight money laundering and the financing of terrorism with urgency and precision. There are remaining issues that require work during the year, which may require funding later in the year. These include infrastructure projects in the BFI, the rolling stock fleet renewal program, accommodating population changes that impact on provincial equitable share, in particular the 3 provinces,
as a Minister of Finance.
Strengthening capability in the Office of the Chief Justice. Statistics South Africa and the South African Revenue Service were already attending to it. An issue which has been raised is also the issue of political funding and infrastructure provision for real houses. Madam Speaker, our ability to deliver public service depends on having a competent, capable, and ethical state. Delivering a reliable and sustainable core services is a priority for this government. Our focus must remain on more effective and efficient service delivery and proper combination between personal expenditure, operating costs, and the maintenance of physical facilities and assets, supported by professional and efficient administration. For over a decade, budgets have been trimmed across the board. While these measures have helped maintain fiscal discipline, they have often been implemented without a thorough interrogation of whether the funds we allocate truly support our national priorities. We must acknowledge that over time, budgets tend to grow incrementally, often carrying forward historical allocations without necessarily reflecting the evolving needs of our country. This approach has led to inefficiencies, misalignment, duplication, and in some cases, the continued funding of programs that do not yield the intended impact. We recognize the urgent need to address this. We are not deaf to the public concerns about wasteful and inefficient expenditure. We know that we must earn the taxpayers' trust every day by spending public money with care and ensuring that every rand collected is spent on its intended purpose. Since 2013, as part of the ongoing evaluation of the operation of government, national treasurers and provincial treasurers have undertaken 240 spending reviews. These reviews range from a number of things such as officer accommodation, fleet management, and so on. However, we have agreed, out of a long discussion with colleagues in government, including the President, that we need to focus on this area of spending reviews. And as such, change the institutional arrangements that we have and locate the spending reviews in the President's office. In that sense, incorporate some of that work to the Operation Vulindlela moving forward. So we are going to give that institutional capability moving forward. The consolidated recommendations of these reviews and other things, including this, as I've indicated, the President has also undertaken to do this, to take this work together with National Treasury. Thank you for this commitment, Mr. President. As the National Treasury, we are ready to take the lead to improve effectiveness and efficiency of spending. We will, together with the President, undertake an audit of ghost workers, starting within in national and provincial departments. Use the ongoing detailed review of labor market activity provision and public employment program to consolidate and rationalize to reduce duplications and improve operational efficiency across more than 100 active labor market programs in over 20 public institutions. The recommendation of this review will also be presented to Cabinet in due course. The entire public employment ecosystem. The aim of this review is Treasury will implement a significant change to the budget process by reassessing the initial assumptions informing budget allocations with a view to creating room for improving spending. Madam Speaker, these reviews go beyond mere cost-cutting measures. They are allowed to systematically assess whether public expenditure is effectively aligned with the priorities of the government and whether it delivers the best possible value for money and impact for the people of South Africa while keeping us on the path of fiscal sustainability. These initiatives will give impetus to the slow implementation of the recommendation of the spending review. I call on ministers, MECs, DGs, HODs, and every official responsible for public funds to embrace these efforts and play their part. The proliferation of conditional grant has necessitated a review of the conditional grant system to reduce duplication and improve effectiveness of the programs. This project will implement the first phase of the recommendations of the review and include merging conditional grants in the basic education and agricultural sector. Preference-based conditional grants to metropolitan municipalities are also introduced, linked to institutional governance and financial reforms to improve services. Madam Speaker, the incentives in our current disaster management system are skewed towards relief and rehabilitation, when mitigation and readiness to minimize damage is the most cost-effective response. Our municipalities stand at the front line of disaster response, yet they are hamstrung by aging infrastructure, bureaucratic fragmentation, and limited access to emergency funds. The priority is to reduce the administrative burden to access emergency funds. Every hour of delay costs lives and livelihoods. Continuous improvements are made to the grant system to incentivize municipalities to access a variety of funding instruments for disasters. These include their own budget, the contingency reserve, conditional grant funding, and insurance. The budget allocates 1.7 billion to respond to future disaster over the medium term, while 4 billion is provisionally allocated to address backlogs recovery efforts for provinces and municipalities. The decline in municipality services is evident across all villages.
All right. So I think we have streamed for over 15 minutes. For over the 15 minutes, I think it's done. We can be able, maybe, if you want to continue to check it out on YouTube, but we don't want to put it very long so that, people can get bored. But I think we get a just gesture of it. The major ones, I think it's introduction of more money to actually the train transportation, maintaining the roads that we have in South Africa, and again, bringing back the trains that they were working before and put it back. He actually give the examples of communities like Kalisha, Naledi, and other, very, very poor communities, that the trains will be there, and it will be there in a period of 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, there will be a train. So that's really dope when it comes to transportation. I mean, there's no biggest city or a big economic country that doesn't use a train system in terms of the transportation. The more money we pay for buses, taxis, Ubers, and so on, those are the money that we could have saved and throw it to our basket of food, right? So that's bravo in terms of that. Again, increasing of old age grant with a little bit of money, that's better. But again, interesting, the reduction of children grants with the 50 rand, and the reduction with other grant with the 70 rand. Those are type of pitch that we're talking about, that it needs to tweak and twitch, so that it can find a place where you can get the money and fund it to another place. But again, the introduction of VAT has been introduced, so the VAT definitely is going up. A lot of people, we're going to suffer in terms of the food in a basket, unless if we reduce the VAT for essential goods. So yeah, continue watching to other platform. I also gonna continue watching to other platforms, so that next time when we come on YouTube, we can be able to talk about it. So thank you very much for tuning in. This was the Financial Minister budget speech of 2025 March, happening on the 12th of March with the Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwana. Thank you.